Okay, part two, the playoff predictions. I've thought long and hard about this. I've been at it for about an hour, thinking about how the season will play out, durability issues, stuff like that, chemistry, and I came down to the final conclusion. In the number one seed in the West, we have LeBron James and the Lakers repeating as number one in the West, obviously, like I just said. And then for the two seed, you have the Nuggets, who were three last year. I believe they were two the year before. I might be misremembering, but still, they're a perennial contender, especially with Jokic. Yeah, the Clippers at three, one of those teams that tend to rest a little bit more, which is fine. It might cost them a playoff spot, but I don't think they'll mind being a three seed. I mean, all that means compared to the two seed is that 2-3 matchup, and I think they're fine playing in Denver. I mean, they lost to Denver last year, even at home, so what's the difference? Then you got the Warriors at four. I like Kelly Oubre in the fit with Steph Curry. I think that's going to be very, very nice. And I think they have a perfect rookie to complement both of them. Also, Wiggins being able to slip in at the two, maybe move Oubre to the four if you want to play a little smaller, and Wiggins at the three. I think it's a very good fit. Yes, they will miss Klay Thompson. If they had Klay Thompson healthy, I'd probably put them as the two seed or the one seed. But this all rides on how healthy will Steph Curry be to start the season, because they could very well start slow, maybe end up as the fifth seed instead. The fifth seed, though, I have going to the Dallas Mavericks, with Luka Doncic taking another step forward. Porzingis' health issues are one reason why I don't have them in the top four. I like Tim Hardaway depth-wise. I like what they're doing with Josh Richardson as well. But to me, that team seems almost two-guard heavy a little bit. I think it does hinder them, although I like Doncic. He could actually play point guard for the team, like Ben Simmons does in Philadelphia. I do think health concerns do limit what this team can actually do. And as the sixth seed, we have the Utah Jazz. Obviously, a very good defensive team, typically, besides last year in that round against Denver, where they let Jamal Murray go off. Like, off. But this team, I think, is obviously going to ride on the defense. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. As a sixth seed, I have the seventh seed. I have the Portland Trailblazers. This one was tougher because at this point you have teams like the Grizzlies, who were right in it last year, the Pelicans, who look to be on the rise. There's a lot of teams to choose from for the last two spots. It's like almost, to me, it's like the top six slots are solidified, and the remaining two, you have like 8 teams fighting for it, it seems like. But I got the Trailblazers at 7. I like the moves they made in the offseason. They unloaded Ariza, brought in pretty good talent, brought Melo back, which was huge, brought Cantor back for defense, and I think he played very well with them before he came to Boston last year. Not defensively, he is kind of a liability sometimes there, but they're not going to ask him to do much behind Nurkic and Collins like the first time he was there, until they got hurt. And then as the 8th seed, I have a surprise with the Phoenix Suns slipping in as the 8th seed. I like what Chris Paul brings there for leadership. I'm assuming in this scenario that DeAndre Ayton plays a full season and plays pretty damn well. And then you have Devin Booker. I'm going to assume this. So there's a lot of assuming in this, that Devin Booker's defense improves quite a bit, hopefully. It will be very interesting to see if it actually does. And their playoff chances will ride on if he can improve his defense. Because if you look at the guards in the West, with like Steph Curry, with the Clippers, with Donovan Mitchell, with Jamal Murray, with CJ McCollum, with all of those other people, you're going to need the defense from Devin Booker. And then in the East, we have the Bucks as the number 1 seed. Again, I love the addition for Drew Holiday. Yes, they lost a decent amount of talent in doing so, but Drew Holiday is an absolute beast. And then as the number 2 seed, we have the Brooklyn Nets. This is assuming KD comes back at full strength right off the bat. He hasn't played in forever, so I think that helps him. In the preseason game against the Celtics, he did look like his shot wasn't really affected at all, which gets me hopeful. I don't care what happens with Kyrie. Kyrie can be hurt for the season. Kyrie can be active. To me, it doesn't elevate them above the Bucks necessarily, because where the Bucks are a more defensive orientated team, it lends itself more to a consistent regular season performance than necessarily an offense, which is more up and down in my opinion. So I think the Nets are probably second seed, whether or not Kyrie Irving is healthy or not, just because Kevin Durant's that good, and they have capable backup with Spencer Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert in that kind of guard position. Then as a 3 seed, I have the Miami Heat with Duncan Robinson and Harrow taking another step, or I'm assuming another step. I like Precious on the team as well. I think that's a really good fit, and it's going to help them. I think the biggest part with Miami is they're going to be healthy. I think they're going to have a very healthy season, and it's going to lend them to getting wins against a little bit more battered teams. Which brings up the 4th and the 5th seed Celtics and the Raptors. Raptors, I think, fall to the 5th seed with the departures of Ibaka and Gasol. Yes, they replaced them, but Ibaka, for the Raptors in the playoffs, even against the Celtics, shot pretty dang well. Not amazing, but pretty dang well, especially when Siakam can take the next step. I have concerns about Siakam, too, after that playoff run. And I don't know what we're going to get out of him this season, so I did put the Celtics above him. With the Celtics, the concerns there, because when you get to the 4th and 5th seed in the East, that's when the concerns start going up, compared to with the West, where really the concerns start with number 6. So, yeah, that's the East. With the Celtics, you have to worry about the issues with Kemba Walker, and a lot of people are worrying about the preseason, but that's just the preseason. It's not really any big issue. And you got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They brought in Tristan Thompson, who is probably going to miss the first couple games of the season, but still, that's a huge addition defensively, rebounding-wise, and offensively in the paint, which is one area where they seem to struggle during the playoffs, especially against Miami's defense. So I think the 4th seed's respectable. I think in the East, you can get the 4th seed with probably 46 wins. Somewhere around there. And then as a 6th seed, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. They always struggle with health, with whether it's Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons. I think the loss to Josh Richardson is going to be a little bit bigger than it seems. I also don't trust Tobias Harris at all. So, but in the 6th seed in the East, it's like the top 6 in the East are like the top 6 in the West, where they're most likely going to make it. The only difference is with the West, the other teams are still good, but with the East, the other teams are mostly ass after 6. So it's like the top 6 are like, oh, they're going to make the playoffs. Who's going to be the surprise? And with that, though, I do have to say, I actually have the Pacers missing out on the playoffs, and I wanted to address that real quick before we get to 7 and 8. And this is not a knock on the Pacers. This is more of, I don't think TJ Warren's going to be the player that he was in the bubble, which elevated them quite a bit. I don't think Oladipo is going to stay healthy because he hasn't been healthy in a long time. I don't think Miles Turner stays with the team too long. I think they end up buying him out or something like that. And something's gonna happen with Indiana this year. This is just predictions. Something's going to happen with Indiana this year that makes him more of a seller, and not a long-term seller, more of a short-term seller. Maybe sell off TJ Warren, get rid of Miles Turner, get some assets, get ready to compete next year, something like that. At number 7, we have the Atlanta Hawks. I like the Boban trade. I like the acquisition of Gallinari, who will be most likely coming off the bench. I think they will compete, and in the East, I think they will steal the 7th seed. Now, when I say the Pacers are going to miss the playoffs, and I have the Hawks and the Hornets at 7 and 8, I think, in all actuality, when you look at the standings in the East at the end of the season, what's going to happen is the Jazz will be the 9th seed, or the Pacers will be the 9th seed, and they will be possibly either a game behind the Hornets, or they will be tied with the Hornets owning the tiebreaker. I think it's going to be that close. I still think Indiana is going to compete. And if TJ Warren shows up like he did in the bubble, if Oladipo stays healthy, if they keep Miles Turner and Sabonis, I think they have a chance at competing with the Hawks for the 7th seed. But I think there will be like maybe a 3-game difference max between 7 and 9. And at the 8th seed we have the Hornets. Obviously, probably the most shocking team I've picked out of this whole thing. Because LaMelo, he's going to have to take a huge step for them to compete. Rozier is good, but he has his limitations. Hayward, will he be healthy for the Hornets? PJ Washington, Malik Monk, Devontae Graham, PJ Washington, Cody Zeller. I think they're all very solid players. I think they're like the Magic of last year. A bunch of really good role players with a star or two who are going to squeak in as the 8th seed. Now, with all that decided, in my opinion, because I went bold last year and I picked the Utah Jazz to win the NBA championship, and thanks to the Denver Nuggets, I was proven wrong. And I have kind of a rule to pick against my own team because I don't want any bias assumed towards the actual pick itself. Although that could be probably considered an anti-bias. Who knows? Anyway, bold prediction for the NBA champion this year for me with this playoff bracket is going to be the Denver Nuggets. I like their young talent. Like I said in the earlier video, I think they could very well make a move for a star like James Harden. I like what that young talent showed. They just have to shore up the defense a little bit. I like what Michael Porter showed. If he can come in fully healthy, get a full season under his belt, I think that provides some depth as well. And I believe Ball is his name. I think he provides a very intriguing option. It's not really a shocking pick to say the Nuggets would win the championship. I think what's more shocking with that is with the Clippers right there, with the Lakers right there, with Steph Curry and the Warriors right there. The Nuggets have a lot of hurdles to overcome to win the championship compared to, honestly, if they were in the East. I don't think they have hurdles like Giannis, but they don't have as large of hurdles. So yeah, my NBA... fuck, I reset on accident. Anyway, it's okay. I remember what the picks were. We had the Hornets at that. We had the... So that's my pick. The Nuggets to win the seed. Let's see, we got that. Heat as the 3, Raptors as the... The East is reset. The 8th seed here was the Phoenix Suns. 2 seed was the Nugs. I think what's funny about the West too, like looking back at this, is that there's a lot of consistency in this team. Like, I'm going to move the Mavericks up here, but there's not, like, honestly, when you look at last year, there's not a lot of movement. Oh yeah, I forgot to put the Warriors as the 4 seed. There's not a lot of movement. Let's see. Oh yeah, we did have the Trailblazers there. Okay, don't push the triangle button again. We're going to advance the round. Like I said, I have the Nuggets winning the championship this year. I had to select one controlled team. I guess for shits and giggies, I'm going to pick the Hawks as my controller team. And we're going to simulate the playoffs. Hopefully it works out like I think it should. Simulate the round right here. We'll always have the computer adjust rotation. Herter broke his nose. Are you serious? Yep, the Hawks got eliminated. That's pretty much obvious right there. The Hornets got swept, of course. The Heat beat the 76ers in a 7-game series, which would be intense. The Boston Celtics beat the Raptors. Then you had Golden State only winning 1 game. The Suns stole a game. The Clippers lost in 7, and the Trailblazers swept the Nuggets. That's fucking interesting right there. I'm not even going to comment any further. That's just fucking interesting. Utah won another 7-game series against Portland. Lakers swept Dallas, so they only got fucking 9 games under their belt. The Brooklyn Nets swept Miami, so they only got 9 games under their belt. The Bucks went 7 with Boston. So we got Brooklyn, Milwaukee again. And we got the Lakers, Jazz. Jazz being different from last time. Simulate this round. Probably it's going to be, yep, Lakers, Nets. Again, this is the same exact result I got from the season simulation with the same exact champion, but in 7 games, and the same exact Finals MVP. Oh, the Lakers win the championship. That looks like the obvious pick right there. I'm still picking the Nuggets, Denver Nuggets, NBA champions. Let's go.